Hi first graders, it's Mrs. C. Hall here again, and I can't believe this is our last time we're going to meet, and I'm so excited to teach you about something new today. Although it's not really new because I know you know about this topic. I hope you had fun doing the activator and you saw all of the biographies with the famous people. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about biographies. And a biography is a text written to inform us about someone's life. It's going to give us information. So it is a type of non-fiction writing because it's true and it has facts. So I have some non-fiction texts right here, and I want to hold some up, and I bet you have already read some biographies about these people. I know I read this book a couple weeks ago about Abraham Lincoln. I know that in social studies a couple weeks ago, you read a biography about Dr. Seuss. I also know in social studies you read about Rosa Parks. And then in your classrooms, I'm sure you did Martin Luther King Jr. and George Washington. Well, all of these are famous people that aren't alive anymore, but sometimes a biography can be about a person who is still alive. And I bet some of you would be interested in reading this biography by Michael Jordan, all about his life and his career in basketball. So let's take a closer look at what biographies have in them. So I made this chart, and it does say again that it's a text written to inform about a real person's life. And that person's life can be in the past or it can be in the present, like the book that I just showed you about Michael Jordan, because he's still alive. Biography is written by somebody else. The subject is usually famous. And in the book is going to tell you when they were born, where did they live, what did they do, what are some awards and accomplishments that happened to them, why they're important, why is this biography being written. They must have done something very important to have a book written about themselves. It's true. Even though a biography is going to read like a story, it is all true. And the life events are told in what's called a chronological order. So a lot of times the book might start with when they're born, talk about their childhood, what happened when they were an adult, and that's usually when you're going to find out a lot about their accomplishments and awards. And then if the person isn't around anymore, it's someone from the past, the book will write about when somebody died. Well, I love to read biographies because I love to read about famous people. And I was looking for a biography to share with you, and I came across one called The Shark Lady. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to read this, and as I read it, I want us to keep in mind the parts of a biography. And let's see if we can find some of them in the book. So the book is called The Shark Lady, and it's the true story of how Eugenie Clark became the ocean's most fearless scientist. And she's not alive today. She was born in about 1922, and she was born in a time when women were not always thought of as scientists. So let's see what happened to her. Shark Lady. It was Sunday, and Eugenie wanted to stay at the aquarium forever. She wanted to smell the damp, salty air and stare at the glittery rainbow of fish. She wanted to keep watching her favorite animals, the sharks. Eugenie pretended that she was walking on the bottom of the sea. What would it be like to swim with her sharks, to breathe underwater with gills of her own? When the summer came, Eugenie's mother took her to swim in Atlantic City. Stuffing sticky gum into her ears to keep the water out, Eugenie dove down, down, down. The salt stung her eyes, but she didn't want to miss a single fish. Constellations of sea stars speckled the pebble sand, and she imagined a silvery fin standing strong on her back, slicing through the ocean current. So right now, if we were thinking about this as a biography, and it is a biography, and we were thinking about the chronological order, we are right here in her childhood, talking about the events. To others, sharks were ugly and scary, but Eugenie knew they were beautiful. As she glided through the cool water, she wished everyone could see sharks through her eyes. But the sharks were only in her mind. For now, Eugenie decided to learn everything she could about them. So, she dove. This time, into books. Whale sharks, nurse sharks, tiger sharks, lemon sharks. Eugenie wanted to know all about them. She also joined the Queens County Aquarium Society as its youngest member. Eugenie's notebooks filled with sharks. They swam in her daydreams and on the margins of her pages. At home, Eugenie's mother surprised her with an aquarium of her own. A 15-gallon tank was too small for sharks, but Eugenie saved her allowance to buy guppies, clownfish, and coral red snails. It felt as big as an ocean in her room. Their small apartment became an aquarium, a laboratory, and a sanctuary. As she grew older, many were still telling Eugenie what to do. Forget those sharks. Be a secretary. Be a housewife. Eugenie wanted to study zoology, which is the study of animals. But some of her professors thought women weren't smart enough to be scientists or brave enough to explore the ocean, and they said sharks were mindless monsters. Eugenie knew better. Her dream was as big as a whale shark, so Eugenie dove. She plunged into every course she could. Her laboratory became her home. From sunrise to sunset, she studied how fish grew, how they behave, and how they were put together, both inside and out. Despite all of the people who didn't believe in her, Eugenie was becoming one of the smartest students in her field. Even after she earned her degree, many still doubted her. So now we're getting into what she's going to do as an adult. But Eugenie's work was just beginning. Eager to make discoveries of her own, Eugenie finally dove into the open ocean. In the Red Sea, Eugenie collected hundreds of fish, including 3 new species that had not been discovered before: the Red Sea sand diver, the barrel xenia pipefish, and the volcano triplefish. On a research mission exploring the Palau Islands, Eugenie was diving alone when she encountered her first ever wild shark. She wasn't afraid. Instead, she thought it was beautiful. In the Isla Mujeres, she dispelled the myth that sharks must keep moving to stay alive when she swam through dark caves, still and silent, full of resting sharks. Eugenie's daring heart grew bolder with each dive. Soon they began to call her Shark Lady. Eugenie had proven she was smart enough to be a scientist and brave enough to explore the oceans. As her courage grew, she began to love and understand her beloved sharks more and more. But she never forgot. Many still believe that sharks were mindless killers. Because of their scary reputation, humans were hunting sharks all over the world. Eugenie knew that sharks weren't stupid or mean. She was determined to prove everyone wrong. Eugenie fished through her mind and devised a brilliant experiment. Could she train a shark the way a person trains a dog? Were sharks much smarter than anyone knew? They were. Eugenie was the first scientist in the world to train sharks and even learn they could remember their training for at least 2 months later. Sharks were not mindless killers. Sharks were beautiful. Sharks were smart. They deserved to be studied, protected, and loved, and Eugenie's dream was now a dream come true. And one of the things I want to show you in this book is here is a chronological order of things that happened in Eugenie's life. So even though it wasn't mentioned in the book when she was born and maybe where she lived, it starts right here that Eugenie is born in New York on May 4th, 1922. And then here are some more years and important things. Here's when she visited the New York Aquarium and she got really into the sharks. Here is where she earned her degree from Hunter College. Here's right here in 1953 she published her first book. And over here she began writing lots of columns and articles for National Geographic. So, and she finally died on February 25th, 2015. So if we take this book and we go back and we look at the things that you're going to find in a biography, okay, it does inform us about Eugenie's life. She lived in the past because she's not alive anymore. The book was written by somebody else. She's famous. She's called the Shark Lady. It talks about when they were born. We said 1922, and she was born in New York. And she lived in New York. We learned about what she did, about how she tried to prove that sharks aren't just killers, that they can actually learn. We learned about why they're important, and we learned about some of her accomplishments, and we learned that it's true. And in the story, it was in chronological order because it started with her childhood and then it kept going through part of her adulthood. So what you're going to do on the next slide is you're going to write about some things you learned about what a biography is. So I really hope you enjoyed learning about a biography, and I'll see you later in the week and we'll talk some more. Bye, friends.